Well, would you look at that? I've made it to the final chapter. Guess I should celebrate with a little champagne. Huh. Where's the corkscrew? Hey, where the hell's the corkscrew? Welcome back everyone to my look into the Friday the 13th franchise. Today I'll be looking at the first final chapter in the series. As I stated in my last review, Paramount thought they were going to end the franchise as a trilogy, but when Part 3 grossed $36 million and dethroned E.T. as the #1 movie at the box office, Paramount knew they could squeeze out more out of Friday the 13th. However, producer Frank Mancuso Jr. wanted to conclude the series for good to try and shed his reputation as the slasher movie guy. The studio agreed and went all out to advertise this as the final chapter. Joseph Zito, who had directed his share of slashers, most notably The Prowler, was brought on to direct. But most importantly, Tom Savini, makeup and design artist from the original, was brought back to kill off his creation, Jason Voorhees.
Because 2 went by, they did not offer me Part 3, but the idea of offering me the film where I get to kill Jason made me feel like Dr. Frankenstein. I created a monster, and I get to kill him.
The stage was set with Savini back and Zito planning to throw in everything in the kitchen sink to close out the franchise. How did Jason's unlucky day go? Let's find out. The movie begins with a recap that's actually done well. It essentially shows off the greatest hits from the first 3 movies, set to Paul's campfire tale from Part 2. This is how a recap is supposed to be done. Not showing off entire sequences from the previous film, just throw them together in a well-cut montage.
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
We then see how much the budget has increased as the opening picks up with a cleanup of the massacre from Part 3. You've got a helicopter, tons of ambulances, police cars, and an excellent crane shot. Paramedics arrive to collect Jason's body and the cleanup crew leaves. When everyone is gone, we get a truly eerie moment. I love this because it hangs long enough for you to think about all the mayhem that just took place here. Now there's nothing. No one. The peacefulness shown contrasts with the carnage we know took place just one night before. Jason's body is taken to the hospital and left with Axel, a true creep in every sense of the word.
Real cute girl. Was. Well, she still is.
He invites Nurse Morgan to his room to watch whatever the hell this is, but they're interrupted.
Jesus Christmas! Holy Jesus goddamn! Holy Jesus jumping Christmas shit!
Loud noises!
Pissed off, Nurse Morgan rushes out, leaving Axel to place Jason in cold storage. There's a great shot as he closes the door showing Jason's breath. And before you know it, Jason is back to work killing Axel and Morgan. Tom Savini pulling out the big guns early with the Axel kill. Sawing into his neck is cool, but then twisting it back to do a 180 is perfection. Cut to the Jarvis family. Mrs. Jarvis, Trish, and Tommy, played by Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman was a great child actor growing up, but nowadays...
We are at a time right now where the world needs to focus really on peace and love and tolerance, especially with all the bullying.
Anyways, it's neat to have a family element for the first time in the series. We're so used to our standard group of teens. Don't worry, they're coming. But with this genuinely nice and cute family bond, right away we're worried about them and want them to make it through this. We do get our new batch of teens, including Paul, Sam, Doug, Sarah, Teddy, and Jimmy, played by Crispin Glover. They're on their way to Crystal Lake for a weekend getaway. Doug and Paul are the most forgettable here, but the rest are pretty interesting. Sam plays the slutty girl who seems to be proud of her reputation she's established. Sarah has all the traits of a good, wholesome girl who would likely make it to the end of these types of horror movies. Then there's Teddy and Jimbo. These two play off of each other so well. They have such a funny friendship as they constantly mock and yell at one another, but not in an overly mean or obnoxious manner. They're just two buddies that are looking to get laid, but Jimmy is incredibly insecure, while Teddy is overly confident. Their friendly clashing makes for some very funny moments.
What? A dead fuck? A lousy lay. You know?
I'll let it be known here that this is my favorite group of characters in the entire series. They're likable, funny, and somewhat relatable. It feels like they're all out of an 80s teen sex comedy, but Jason was tossed in with them. Oh, and while they're on their way to Crystal Lake, we get a random scene of a hitchhiker getting killed. Ugh, such a waste of a perfectly good banana. That night, the gang arrives at their house, which is conveniently across from the Jarvis clan. Then there's this great funny scene involving Tommy being able to see Sam changing from his window. He has the reaction every kid that age would. The next morning, the teens bump into a set of twins, Tina and Terry, on their way to Crystal Lake. They join our main group for a skinny dip at the lake and are invited to a party at their place that night. Tommy and Trish also stumble upon the teens at the worst possible time.
I need an adult.
Their car breaks down on the way home, and that's when they meet Rob, a random hiker who offers to help them out. They give him a lift, and he seems like a nice enough guy. But when he says he's hunting for bears, something Tommy says he can't be hunting, and asking weird questions like if there were any kids vacationing nearby, you get a shady sense to him.
Are you a pedophile?
After Tommy shows him his mask work, a clear nod to Savini, Rob heads out to set up camp in the woods, and the party starts over at the other house. Jimmy gets it started by busting a move. They say he was dancing to the song Back in Black, but it looks more like he was having a seizure on set. Teddy and Jimmy keep trying to make their moves on the twins, but Tina seems way more interested in Paul. This pisses off Sam, and she leaves to take a late night dip. She swims out to the little raft in the middle of the lake that you're worried Jason may be in, but she gets in safely. Well, if he's not on the raft, Jason couldn't possibly be anywhere else. I like the surprise with Jason popping out of the water, but I love the effect of the knife coming through the raft and her body. Her face and death noises are kinda goofy, but knowing what she went through to get that scene completed is pretty rough. I believe they shot this late in the fall and the water was freezing cold. Having to be out there in the nude was taking a toll on her body, but Joseph Zito didn't really seem to care. At one point she was in tears, leading Jason actor Ted White to step in and threaten to leave production unless they got her out of the water to warm her up. I'll have more to say on Ted White a little later. Paul decides he needs to stop flirting with Tina and goes looking for Sam. And sure enough, he finds her dead out in the raft. He tries to swim back, but when he gets to the dock, Jason stabs him with the harpoon, right in the dick. Stabbing him there was one thing, but then the click to shoot it and raise him up?
You never shoot a guy in the dick!
Rob hears the cry every man heard and goes to investigate. He finds nothing, but when he returns to his tent, his gun has been broken and maps are all destroyed. It seems as though he knows exactly who did this. Back at the party house, with Paul gone, Tina sets her sights on Jimmy and takes him upstairs. Rejected, Teddy decides to 420 blaze it and finds an old stag film reel and projector. A few of them decide to watch it, but Terry has had enough and attempts to leave in the pouring rain. Before she can even get on her bike, Jason kills her with a spear in the back. I love the use of the lightning to show Jason approaching and you just see the silhouette of her getting stabbed. You could have ended it there, but then you also have her pinned up against the side of the house. Nice touch. Back inside, Sarah invites Doug to join her upstairs. After she leaves, Teddy gives a look back at Doug and just starts laughing. He's proud of his buddy. The horniest guy in the house isn't getting laid and he could be a mopey bitch about it. Instead, he's happy for another one of his pals. Other movies would have him be the jealous asshole, but he's cool with it. Another reason why I enjoy these characters the most. Mrs. Jarvis returns from her nightly run in the rain to an empty and powerless house. She heads outside and clearly runs into Jason, but we never see what happens to her. I've never been sure how to feel about this. On one hand, it would be nice to know exactly what Jason did to get rid of Mrs. Jarvis. Off-screen kills are never good. However, on the other hand, it would be tragic to watch what Jason did to this mother of two. There is an alternate ending where her body is discovered in the upstairs bathroom, but it turns out to be a dream. I will say that I'm glad this was ultimately cut because the whole dream ending is tired by this point. When Trish and Tommy come back, Trish orders Tommy to go fix the power while she goes looking for their mother outside. She stumbles upon Rick's tent and is actually interrupted by Rob, who slashes the tent thinking she may be the previous intruder. He explains to Trish that his sister Sandra from part 2 was murdered by Jason. Ever since, he's been chasing after him. Trish is hard pressed to believe Jason is still alive, but with Rob so damn sure with the evidence he presents her, she rushes back with him to get Tommy. Now, the huge problem with Rob here is that he looks as though he's been hunting Jason for years, following his every move. However, the events that happen between parts 2 and 4 actually take place over the course of a few few days. I understand going after the guy that killed his sister, but his preparedness seems too over the top, like he's a Jason expert. Moving back to the party house, the madness is about to ensue. Jimmy comes downstairs after having sex with Tina and gloats to Teddy. Again, Teddy could be pissed off, but he congratulates him and they decide to celebrate with a bottle of champagne. But Jimmy has a little trouble out in the kitchen.
Ted! Hey, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
This is one of my favorite kills in the franchise. I just love the delivery Crispin Glover gives, and similar to the wheelchair kill in part 2, it's darkly comedic. Then to top it off, he gets a cleaver in the face. Back upstairs, Tina notices that her sister's bike is still outside, even though she said she was leaving. Having trouble seeing through the rain, Jason helps her get a better look.
I believe I can fly.
And apparently Teddy has heard absolutely none of this, but gets up as the projector runs out of film. Suddenly, he's stabbed through the screen in the back of the head.
Headaches! You give me headaches!
Upstairs, Sarah leaves Doug after shower sex, and she tries to let him know exactly how she feels.
I think I'm in love.
I'm looking all over for you. I gotta get out of here pronto. I got a stage 5 clinger.
While she dries her hair, Jason sneaks in on Doug in the shower. This kill kicks ass. Between the brutality of Jason using his bare hands to kill this guy and the sound design of the skull being crushed is so effective. And it's here we get our first real look at Jason, as quick as it may be. Along with having my favorite cast and some of my favorite kills, this entry has my favorite Jason in Ted White. I find him to be the scariest, most intimidating, and meanest Jason of them all. He is going around constantly pissed off at everyone, and he is taking out his rage on them. He's the Jason I'd like to run into the least, because he will come after my ass in a full sprint and he would make sure my death was prolonged. Best Jason portrayal in my book. Sarah discovers Doug's body and tries to escape through the front door, but she's greeted by something else. This was the good girl at the start who had potential to survive, but she forgot rule number 1.
You can never have sex.
Big no-no!
Trish and Rob finally decide to go check out the party house and leave Tommy to lock the place up. Rob investigates the basement while the Jarvis's dog, Gordon, goes upstairs and gets thrown out? Jumps out? It's not gonna make sense here in a minute. Trish goes to tell Rob Jason is in the house, but it's too late as Jason emerges from the shadows and attacks Rob, who for some reason needs to announce his death. I've heard some people say they're disturbed by this kill, including director Joe Zito, because of Rob's constant declaration of, "He's killing me!" And it is for like a small bit, but he keeps shouting it for so long, it gets to the point for me that it's comedic.
Perhaps you could toss me a Band-Aid or some anti-bacterial cream. I'm in an extraordinary large amount of pain.
Trish books it back to her house and tries to board everything up, but nothing is going to stop Jason as he tosses Rob's body through the window and attacks Tommy. Luckily, they're able to escape upstairs, and they even smash a TV on Jason's head. With their pursuer temporarily incapacitated, Trish is now in full protector mode. She makes a good final girl thanks to the length she's willing to go to not only fend off Jason, but defend her little brother. She flat out tells Tommy she's going to lure Jason out of the house, and when she does, he has to run like hell. She is successful in getting Jason out of the house and back over to the party house. We get some great shots of Jason in the darkness, and with nowhere left to run, Trish hurls herself out the window. How she survived and Tina didn't, I have no idea. But she manages to get back to her house only to find out that Tommy never left. Instead, he's taken one of Rob's pictures of child Jason and starts cutting his hair to look like him. Jason creeps behind Trish in the doorway, but she manages to get a good slice to his hand. Just as it looks like it's all over for her, Tommy comes downstairs looking like child Jason and yells at him repeatedly to remember. This is a good nod to part 2 with getting into Jason's psyche. Trish uses the distraction to take a swipe, but only manages to knock off Jason's mask, and we get a full face reveal. Best makeup for human Jason, since it looks the most like he did when he was shown as a child. Better interpretation than parts 2 and 3. It's here Tommy picks up the machete and swings it into the side of Jason's head. Oh my god, this is so amazing. We get the machete in the side of his head, but the freaking slide down and sound design once again just making it so gruesome. Tommy sees Jason slightly twitch and then just goes mad and hacks away. Flash to a hospital where Trish and Tommy are reunited, but one look gives us the hint that this may not be the end.
Sequel?
My overall thoughts on this movie? It's my favorite in the franchise. It has the best cast of characters, best Jason, amazing kills, great cinematography, and a truly scary atmosphere. The score by Manfredini is also at its best here. It works well at building the suspense, setting a mood, and is synced perfectly with certain shots and scenes. I literally can't sing its praises any more than I already have. Ted White is a frightening Jason who is vicious and cruel throughout. The cast is incredibly likable, the Jarvises and the teens. The family element is a new and welcomed addition, but the teens not being forgettable or obnoxious is a pleasant surprise. They're fun, and some actually have development, which is incredibly rare for a Friday the 13th movie. The kills are top-notch thanks to Savini's return. The hacksaw, the corkscrew, the face crush, the harpoon to the dick, the Jason machete slide. Perfect. Cinematography here is the best out of the first 4 films, especially at night. Part 3's was awful because it was overly bright, and the first 2 were fine, but I can't say that they were noteworthy. And yes, I do believe this is the scariest entry in the series. It's not cheesy like a lot of the other movies. The environment is creepy with a threatening Jason stalking a group that we really don't want to see die. There are funny moments, but that's because the characters are doing some pretty damn funny things. I'm trying to figure out my negatives, but I don't have much. I pointed out the absurdity of Rob hunting Jason for years/days, and his death scene has polarizing reactions. And I still have no idea why Gordon the dog jumped out that window. Other than those nitpicks, I have no complaints. I give Friday the 13th, the final chapter, 5 corkscrews out of 5. But what are your thoughts? Is this your favorite in the franchise too? Or do you have problems with my positives? Are there any negatives I overlooked? Let me know in the comments. Remember to subscribe and follow my Twitter in the link below. I'll be back next week with Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Didn't take them long to start new after making a final chapter. Until next time, peace.